Chefs of the Future, COF Nation, COF Nation. We're going to poison our company on Broadway, and we're going to talk about plant-based meats. Let's go. Yo, I've been dying to make this. Let's get it. Chefs of the Future, my name is Rich. We back. I've been dying to talk to y'all, and let's get it going. So look, before we really get into what we come to talk to right now, I just want to mention this because I seen this story on the New York Post, and I always tell y'all to check your sources if you've been any time listener of the show. I've always say to check your sources, and New York Post is has been known to be shoddy at times, but it's still, in my opinion, a reputable source. As long as you make sure to check their references as well. But I'm only mentioning this because this is significant for topics that we always talk about here on the show. Now, listen, this show in particular is going to be really crucial that you've watched every episode. Maybe not every episode, but you was here from the beginning. And if not, go back and check the podcast episodes because it's going to be really relevant to the topics we talk about. And if you've been listening and been a fan and been a supporter from then, you'll kind of know where these conversations are going to go and how I feel about these topics. So for those who don't know, the name of my first ever episode is called The Death of the Plant Eater. So I'm really significant. I feel really strongly about the topics we're going to talk about today. But before we do that, I do want to mention this story on the New York Post. So it's something that I ran across. This was published on December 18th, 2021 by Stephen Vago. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. So it's called Broadway Musical Company Shuts Mid-Show Due to Apparent Food Poisoning. Now, the only reason why we're talking about this Broadway play is because they say that this is show stopped mid-show because of food poisoning. Now, just reading the opening paragraph, it says the hit Broadway musical company called curtains before the first song of Friday's night's performance over an apparent case of food poisoning. Now, us here at Chefs of the Future are either restaurant managers, wannabe expiring chefs, students, chefs themselves, people that work in hotels, again, porters even, you name it. I get comments and support from everyone through every aspect of the industry. And when it comes to the safety of the people that we're meant to produce a product for, we all have one thing in common. We put nothing above that. Now, when I read this musical, now apparently they had the tickets sold, they had the customers in their seats, and they was waiting for the show. It was something like 10 to 15 minutes before the show started, and the people came out and said that the show was canceled for that night and that they hoped that they had still plans for the scheduled show for tomorrow to proceed as scheduled, but today's show couldn't proceed because one or a few of the cast members had gotten food poisoning. Now, this raises all the flags, and it should. When you, as a consumer, right, as a customer, choose to go to any establishment, or when an establishment chooses to accept a contract from a catering company to cook food in their establishment, they outsource their hospitality. It's on the company that they outsource it to. It's on the people that work there. Now, the customer chooses to go to your establishment, and even if it's a freestanding establishment, they choose knowing and willingly with their own money to vote with their own money at that establishment. Now, you as the cook, you as the chef, you as the deli person, Maybe it's a person with a 9 to 5, and you don't have the title of chef, but you're still preparing sandwiches. That's fine. You, as the food handler, right? You have the responsibility to make sure you keep the people that consume your food safe. And throughout the entire process, when it comes to receiving the food in the door, properly storing it away, properly cooking it, and handling it throughout the entire process, all falls on the food handler and the establishment to make sure those boxes gets checked as well, and it gets done safely, efficiently. Now, when people get sick, that means there was a huge gap in information, and there were a few people not doing their job for that to happen. And this is just the tip of the iceberg if only a few people got sick, because this has the potential to get thousands of people sick. When you decide to become a cook, a chef, you have the responsibility of keeping people safe. You are literally making life and death decisions every single day. What you don't do, that night when you go home, if you don't clip your nails and you got dirty fingernail and you go to prepare somebody's food the next day and you get them sick, or what have you, it's completely on you. You store the food improperly in the refrigerator and you cross-contaminate something and you get somebody sick that way, that's completely on you as well. And the establishment, there's a couple people to blame: the food handler, the establishment, the supervisors at the establishment. But again, this is unacceptable because you are a service that literally make life and death decisions for the people that engage with your product. If Apple makes an iPhone that blows up, they get sued. You understand? The people that eat at your spot trust you, and you betray their trust by getting them sick or mishandling the food or underpreparing the food or whatever you did, or hiring the wrong people. Sometimes you got to pay more for the people that know how to get the job right. Now, it sucks for the establishment, but if you know that person knows how to prepare the food or hold the food or do the steps or even know the steps to keep people safe that choose to eat at your restaurant or eat at your store, your convenience store, whatever, whether it be a corner store, a bodega, whatever, that's what you have to do. So this is why this is so important. And I don't want to spend too much time on something that's not even our main discussion point. But let me know what you think about that. And if I'm overthinking it, if I'm blowing it up, or if you want to add something to it, jump in the comments below and let me know your thoughts on that one. But all right. Now, what we come here to talk about, now I'm sorry that's got me heated. I don't want to get too much into it. But what we come here to talk about is this. Now, the reason why I told y'all it's going to be extremely important that y'all caught up on the majority of the episodes here on Chefs of the Future is because my first ever episode is called The Death of the Meat Eater, and is basically my thoughts on how I feel at some point in the future the average consumer is not even going to consider meat as something they prefer to eat when they consider lunch or dinner. And today, the two companies that are headlining that push towards that future is Impossible Meat, Impossible Foods, and Beyond Meat. These two companies are at the forefront. Now, both of them are extremely profitable right now. They face their hiccups, as do any company, and but they're steady pushing ahead. Now, my concern, something that we're going to talk about in depth on a later show, is the long-term effects of consuming their products on the consumer that ate them long term. So the long-term effects of it, because the products are fairly new, so there aren't any long-term studies that have come out, particularly in the chemical that they use, the compound that they use to have that blood effect and that cooking effect. Now, reading this article that is brung into us on Reuters. Now, again, this was published on December 14th, 2021. Analysts say McDonald's Beyond Meat plan big 2022 U.S. McPlant expansion. So the McPlant is the new menu item, the new project in which they're going to fall their new plant-based burger into, and what they're going to call it. Now, of course, everything is Mc, and it makes sense because they're McDonald's, so it's going to make money. See what I did there? Now, the opening paragraph starts as follows. Now, December 14th, this was published in New York. McDonald's Corporation is planning a major expansion of its plant-based burger with Beyond Meat Incorporated in the United States in 2022, according to the Wall Street analyst. The company begins testing the McPlant patty in 8 McDonald's locations in November. Those restaurants have been selling enough of the sandwiches, as many as 70 a day, to warrant the expansion of the trial, the analyst said. Now, this article has went to say that there's only a small collection of the analysts that believe this is going to go on to be a bigger project for the majority of the United States. Now, how do I feel about it? I do feel that it's inevitably going to get to the point where they're going to do that. Now, they're partnering with Beyond Meat, which is smart. The real question is, do I feel like their relationship with Beyond Meat is going to last? And I say no. Now, it's important that they establish the McDonald's brand with a tasteful meat substitute burger. The Beyond Meat has been proven to sell, and they have a proven fan base. So right now, McDonald's and the Beyond Meat is a beneficial relationship, because they can say, hey, look, we have a Beyond Burger on our menu. You're familiar with Beyond Meat, so you know our burger is going to taste good. Beyond Meat is like, look, this is a contract with McDonald's that's going to help fund our research and development into other meats and into other projects, and expand our overall company 2-3-fold even, and get our name even more out there. So it's a mutually beneficial relationship right now. But inevitably, McDonald's will go into the business of making its own plant-based burger, inevitably, and they will completely sell the crap out of it, because they'll take the White Castle route, and they'll be having it in frozen versions in the supermarkets, and they'll be selling it on the side of their McDonald's restaurants as well. You could buy it just frozen by the case, like some TGI Fridays do for their barbecue sauce. And this is interesting stuff, but that's how I feel about that. Now, the Beyond Meat Impossible Foods, hearing this is huge for them in general, because they've already had their time in the spotlight with Burger King and Taco Bell, and to hear that they have continued interest with McDonald's and other companies of that size is huge for them and their movement and what they're trying to do, because both have similar dreams and hopes of pushing the world to a point where they don't consider meat um, and have to rely on meat as much as we do. But again, how do y'all feel about that? This is something that we could dive into more. I don't want to get too much into it and make this video too long. So let me know your thoughts on that. How do you feel about that? Do you feel like there's something that I'm not touching on? Feel like something that I'm overlooking completely? Comment below and join the conversation. And with all that, man, appreciate y'all listening as always. Rich, and I'm out of here.